Homosexuality. Are you born that way, or is it something that you decide? Hi, welcome to Broken Silence. I'm Sanyya Gardez. Tonight's show is probably one of our most controversial yet. We're talking about homosexuality. Is it a choice? Does someone choose to be gay? Or is our sexuality something that's determined at birth? And if it is a choice, why would someone born into a conservative Asian home choose a path that's going to be anything but easy? Joining me to get to the bottom of this is Dr. Qureshi. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Qureshi.
Thank you very much, Sanyya.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sanyya, by profession, I'm a doctor, and then I trained to be a psychiatrist, and I also specialize in sexual dysfunctions, and have done some work on this subject.
What's your take on homosexuality? Is it a choice?
I feel this is very complex than just being a choice or not a choice. And also depends upon cultural context, the society you're born into, and also the pressures and at one end, and also some people are born where sex has been unidentified and remains, as we call it in medical terms, undifferentiated. So it's a very complex subject, Sonia. I think if you take it from medical perspective, there are some people who are from birth effeminate. There are some people who are more masculine than masculine. And as they grow, culture, nature, nurture play a part in determining the way they turn out to be.
So there's not just one simple answer to somebody's sexuality. It's not whether they're born this way. It's not simply whether they were nurtured a certain way. Because in studies it shows that twins,
yes,
one of them might be straight, one of them might be gay. So that argument, nature versus nurture, doesn't really have a whole lot of credibility.
Not anymore. I think that with the passage of time we are discovering there are far complex interpsychic, hormonal, medical factors that are under play in determining sexuality. But the role of society at large in determining the way one feels comfortable with their sexuality is still being explored, and there is, if I can say, the jury is out.
Right, okay. In terms of our culture, the Asian, South Asian culture, sexuality is such a taboo subject that's not really discussed at home. You're not sat down at the age of 10, 11 to talk about the birds and the bees. So why would somebody born into such a conservative culture, how do they cope with this, with their own sexuality? I mean, I know that you deal with people that have an issue with being gay. So they'll come to you thinking, oh, maybe there's a quick fix solution to this. Is there?
I think mostly our culture, Asian culture, is top-heavy in the sense our ancestors, our wider family determines how you should behave, and rightly so. Most of the time, it works out fine for most of us. But as we live in the West, increasingly, the pressures of the society and the media, and also peer pressures at school, have a bearing on the way you perceive yourself to be. But if things aren't going right, the family has an attitude, oh my God, let's stop it, this is wrong, we can't accept it, without actually sitting down with the person in question and helping him through this sometime a critical phase in his life before he determines where he belongs.
So can somebody come to you who has an issue with being homosexual? Can you then, in a sense, cure them?
Sanyya, this is a very, very interesting question. Often parents bring them to me when the person is struggling, mostly in the teens, and has shown a certain predilection to be gay. They get extremely over-alarmed. When they bring the person to me, and of course, as you know, the Royal College of Psychiatrists recently said that 20% of people who turn out to be gay, not gay, have been through some therapy. This was a bombshell. People said, oh my God, what's wrong with this? Why as a doctor, as a psychiatrist, you need to treat them at all? No, I don't treat them. I can advise them.
What kind of advice
them.
do you give to, say, a 16-year-old who's questioning their own sexuality, think that they might be homosexual? Do you kind of then steer them away from that?
That's not my role. I think what is important for me is to know why he came to me in the first place. If it's brought by parents who are very uncomfortable, him showing certain tendencies.
Is it usually parents that bring their children to you, or is it the individuals
most
themselves?
Often, in that age group, parents do. But in older age group, 20s and 30s, sometime, for example, I had a wife who rang me to say she's now worried about her husband discovering his gay past. We're happily married.
So he was gay, then got married, and then
got married
right.
under compulsion, and beginning to now show tendencies to go back to his original sexual orientation. It was quite a considerable case because this man discovered that he never was to be married. He was
Forced
shouldn't have been
into it.
married, and I think he volunteered to get married for the sake of keeping peace. He wasn't forced into it, but he thought it was a normal thing to do.
Mm.
But having done that, he had serious problem about his whole identity. Now, if the parents bring the child to me, I ask them to back off. I say, look, let me talk to the person. If I then discover, Sanyya, that there is a pressure group or peer pressure on him to go this way or that way, the child often, or the teenage person often will tell me that, oh, Dr. Rishi, I'm comfortable being gay, but my parents want me not to be gay. Then I have a problem because I would wish that I don't disrupt his family structure.
So what advice would you give somebody who is struggling with their family in terms of their sexuality? What kind of advice would you give somebody like that?
I would tell him that, especially at teenage, the crushes to be this or that are overwhelming. Sometimes they are not, if I can use the word, the transient, ephemeral. Kinsey gave a scale to say exclusively hetero to exclusively homo. So people are not neatly cut out to be this or that, the shades of gray. So I will talk to him and ask him, does he really understand what's he in for? If he goes down this road to be gay, he will soon be taken over by peer pressure to remain gay. But if he chooses to be...
You mentioned peer pressure several times. Do you think somebody can get pressured by their peers to be gay?
Oh, Sanyya, you will be surprised, especially in late teens, the pressure of a group. For example, just a month ago, I had a chap come from New York to see me, and his father works in Coventry, and he said, Rishi, I ran away from the university because every person in university thinks I'm gay. I'm not. And they try to rope him into the system because this university in New York, I think, has a strong gay presence.
But there's that saying that there's no smoke without fire. So if everybody thinks that he's gay, is he in denial then?
No, he wasn't. In fact, he was absolutely sure he is not gay. But they thought, you're too smart to be not gay. So he said...
What do you mean smart in terms of the way he looked?
He was a very smart young man. I would say normally slightly effeminate in his way he walked. So these guys thought he was gay, which he wasn't. And his loathing for being thought as gay was very hurting him. So he left the university, frankly, because this gay culture in that university is really dominant, unlike here.
So you do agree that somebody can get pressured into being homosexual?
Yes, if the peer pressure takes you over without giving you a choice to be what you want to be, then there is a possibility, and especially the pressure groups also can say it's normal to be gay. Well, what is normal for that person? Let him decide. I don't want to tell him to be gay or not to be gay. But I know the structure of the Asian family. Will it cope? Will it survive? Very difficult. Now let me give another example of a non-Asian person.
Mm-hmm.
Mother and father both